a moment for others to join, and then we'll get going. Maybe just give it another minute, and then we can start going.
Yeah, I see also people joining, so let's give it a few more seconds.
I think what we'll do, Dimitris, if it's good with you, maybe at 2 minutes past, we can just start.
Yeah, let's do it. And there is time for people to join, I think, for the first 1-2 more minutes, I guess, as we speak. Yeah.
Okay. I think we just start now. It's good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Today's webinar is Agentic AI and Collections, from static strategies to living customer journeys. I'm Asif Ahmed, Principal Consultant at Arum, and I'll be your host today. Before we go any further, what I wanted to do is actually start with a quick question just to get you thinking. So how many of your collection strategies today were designed to change in real time without a change request, without a release cycle, without human intervention? For most organizations, the honest answer is very few, if any. And that gap is exactly what today's session is about. But before we dive into that properly, just a couple of quick housekeeping points, so you know how today's session will actually work. So throughout the webinar, we'll be launching a few interactive polls just to get a sense of what you're seeing, what you're doing in your own organizations. So when a poll appears on your screen, I'll read out the question, give you a minute or so to respond. Once you've answered, I ask that you simply just close down the pop-up, and then we can carry on with the rest of the session. And towards the end of the webinar, if time permits, we'll open up things for a Q&A. If we don't manage to get through all the questions live, we'll look to review those afterwards, and where appropriate, follow up via email. But I'll come to that in more detail when we actually reach the Q&A section. So with that out of the way, just a quick word on who Arum are and why we're actually involved in this conversation. So for those who don't know, Arum is a global independent consultancy. We specialize in end-to-end collections, recoveries, transformations. We help organizations redefine their operating models, embedded digital and data capabilities. We help select and implement technology and deliver some of the most complex transformation, implementation, migration programs in the industry. And briefly on myself, just so you know where I'm coming from in framing today's webinar, I've worked across pretty much every role within the collections development lifecycle, spanning strategy, operations, decisioning, digital journeys, enterprise delivery. Worked with almost every major vendor platform, hybrid architecture, fully in-house solutions, and I've also had the privilege of leading, supporting multi-million pound and multi-million dollar implementations and migrations. So just coming back to the question I asked earlier on, for most organizations, strategies don't change in real time. They wait for a change request and a release, and that's a gap we need to close. That's exactly why today's topic matters. Customer expectation, regulation, digital behavior, all of these are evolving at pace unlike anything we've seen before. Yet many collection strategies are still designed as if change happens quarterly, annually. Static treatment paths and one-size-fits-all strategies, they no longer reflect reality. And now we're entering into the era of agentic AI, AI that can reason, adapt, act dynamically across the customer journey. And this is what enables living customer journeys, personalized engagement that adjusts in real time to behavior, risk, and vulnerability. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today with EXUS. We're driving real innovation in this space. So with that, I'll hand over to Dimitris from EXUS to introduce himself, share a little bit about EXUS, and also walk us through today's agenda. Dimitris.
Thank you so much, Hasib. I think nobody could have said it better, what we're experiencing today. So allow me also to share the screen to set a bit the context, and I'll be happy to dive deeper. I hope you can see my screen, right? First of all, perfect. I'd also like to introduce myself. I am Dimitris Papadopoulos. I am a Chief AI Officer here at EXUS. EXUS, for those of you who don't know, is a global leader in collections. We're proud to say that we do one thing very good, and this is actually building debt collection software for banks, financial institutions, utilities, and similar industries. And as you can understand, we're experiencing a huge shift. And this shift is what we're talking about today. We're experiencing a huge shift in collections. And this is due to the Agentic AI revolution that has happened in the last few 1 or 2 years. A few things about myself. I wasn't always involved in the fintech industry. I've passed through cybersecurity. I've also passed from biotech, and here I am into Agentic AI for collections. My experience spans different domains, but they all have a common denominator, which is AI. And my goal is to enable and provide real impact using AI-driven solutions. And I think the topic today is very important and very timely, because, as I said, we're moving from static strategies in collections to the ones that we design, we approve, and then they should work for months. We hope they do, but usually in the reality of today, this doesn't happen all the time. They need manual intervention. So we want to transition from these hacky workflows into living customer journeys, journeys that adapt as the customer adapts. And what's exciting about today, and this is, I think, the one-liner of today's webinar, is that this is no longer a theory. AI is now mature enough to run as an operational capability with governance, with measurement, and with real business outcomes. So in the next, I think, 30 minutes or so, I'll show you exactly how we approach that in EXUS with our EFS, our EXUS Financial Suite, across our product portfolio, and specifically across our AI blueprint. So I'll take over and move on to the next slide. I want to start by putting a stake in the ground. So predictions alone do not change outcomes, but proper execution does. What do I mean by that? I mean that most organizations have machine learning models nowadays. Many have dashboards, many have analytics, but the real impact comes when all this strategy actually executes consistently and at scale with correct controls. And this is why the three words that I have in bold matter here. Governed, meaning that policy is enforced in runtime and it doesn't just live in your PDFs or any other documents that you have to manually read. Observable, so that every action is traceable, auditable, and measurable. And defensible. Defensible, I mean that when somebody asks, why did the model select this action, we could answer this with evidence, with confidence, and not just with vibes and with manual backtracking. So this is the difference between a pilot and the production. So you might ask, okay, what's so different in collections in 2026? Why is the momentum right now? The momentum is right for the last, I think, past months, because three forces are converging exponentially, and they are accelerating fast to solve this problem at scale and reliably. And what are these three forces? First of all, customers have been, let's say, kind of acquainted with Gen AI. They expect instant, natural, self-service resolution. And this is actually the Gen AI effect, as I call it. Another pillar is that now cost to collect pressure is real. With all these new instant payment apps, with buy now, pay later, and every kind of automation that comes into play, you cannot realistically have manual intervention for all these products. So you need to find a scalable and measurable cost to collect way, which is something that is not going to go away very soon, I think, in the foreseeable future. And last but not least, I think most importantly, agentic AI is finally becoming operational enough. We're not talking about generic chatbots, but we're talking about execution inside workflows. So for me, 2026 is basically the moment where collections stop being planned and start being run dynamically. And the winners will not be the teams with some AI, vaguely. It will be teams that operationalize it and use it safely and continuously. So I have a headline here that I really believe in, that when policy is executable, then compliance can scale. So what do I mean by that is that if you want AI to scale, compliance has to scale with it. So imagine that you as a financial institution have some policies set in place that you do manual checking on. Okay, that's fine, but the problem is that all these need to be guardrailed in real time. So I'm talking about the consents, vulnerability flags, channel rules, time windows, how you treat hardships, how you handle escalations. So if that logic lives inside documents, or if it lives inside some of your best people's heads, which is usually the case, it will break under scale. If, however, it lives in a runtime decision layer, then it becomes consistent and auditable. So that's the goal, not that we think something is compliant, but we can prove it case by case. And that, I think, is the biggest bet that agentic AI comes to solve. And that's the main subject of today's session. So I have a conceptual skeleton in this slide. I like to call it like a mental model. It's an execution loop, and let me tell it, narrate it in sort of a short story. First, we learn from outcomes and signals. We learn to extract signals from behavior and outcomes. So any customer behavior is logged and we learn from it. Once we learn from it, we are able to strategize. We turn those signals into next best actions under constraints. Constraints could be your policies, your capacity of your call center, you could be your cost of your outbound calls, etc. And finally, depending on the use case, either we engage automatically if there is something that we could solve without human effort, or for the most challenging cases, we try to enhance. We're trying to enhance our people's productivity. We're trying to boost them so that they can walk through complexity and walk through exceptions in a scalable way and in an auditable way. And of course, the magic here is the loop, an invisible line that goes from dots 3 and 4 back to 1, that these outcomes feed back into a learning loop so that your strategy can improve continuously. So this is my mental model: learn, strategize, engage, and enhance. And let me try to show you how this can be translated into an operating loop of our actual portfolio here at EXUS. So as I said, we start with learning. What is learning? This is machine learning predictions, models that read thousands of behavioral and transactional signals based on data that lives inside our EXUS financial suite. And we turn these signals into risk-driven precision. We know who is likely to pay, who needs help, what the right level of effort should be to increase collectability or resolve a specific use case. Once we have these precision signals, this could flow into our AI decision engine. Remember, the second pillar is about strategizing. In the AI decision engine, we can orchestrate the entire strategy in real time. We could combine machine learning with your business rules, events, any exceptions, so every account follows the optimal path automatically. And then, as I said, you have a branch. You could select cases, actually your decision layer selects cases, that could be handled by self-service resolution. For those cases that can be self-resolved, you can automate. And how you can automate? You can automate by having an AI negotiator, our chatbot solution, which engages customer directly and consistently using some governed and policy-safe ways available 24/7, handling complex routines, negotiation loads, so your teams can focus on the complex cases. And which are the complex cases? It's the second part of the branch. So some cases will always need some elevated, let's say, special capability. We'll need human in the loop. They cannot be automated right now. So There you need a system that boosts the productivity of your human agents. Here is our AI coach that tries to summarize calls before the call, summarize information before the call for the agent, and during the call it can provide real-time scripting, it can provide real-time assistant, and after the call it can provide targeted feedback and coaching for your collection agents. And of course, this loop closes when outcomes and all these signals are fed back to the machine learning layers. So at the end of the day, all of this forms a single blueprint, signals that lead to decisions and decisions that lead to engagement and improvement. And this is why the EXUS AI blueprint can be deployed either as modular pieces, as I showed here, or even better, and for maximum productivity, as one engine integrated inside the EXUS Financial Suite. So I'm moving on. And by the way, feel free to keep it interactive if you want. So before we speak about any Gen AI or any decision engines, everything begins in our machine learning portfolio. And here we have 8 machine learning models. This is actually what I call, let's say, the cornerstone of our XAI prediction engine. So imagine models that ask fundamental questions in collections. Who is going to pay, when they will pay, and how should we reach them? We can predict late payers, natural occurrers, high-risk defaulters, and we can forecast who will keep a promise to pay, who has the highest likelihood to repay overall, and maybe what's the best moment, what's the best channel for each individual to be contacted. And we're not talking about generic models here, we're talking about models that are purposely built for collections, trained on behavioral patterns, responsiveness data, repayment histories, and once these signals exist, everything else in the EXUS AI stack becomes exponentially more powerful. By the way, Hasib, I realized that we have some live polls. I got driven away by the presentation. Apologies. So if we want to inject and ask our audience also one of the questions here, please feel free to interrupt me. Yeah.
I think it'd be good to maybe pause. Maybe even I can ask you the question and you can answer it while everyone's completing this. So this particular poll is where do you see the most potential for Gen AI to improve customer experience in collections? Is it outbound communication, inbound contact handling, self-service and digital portals, proactive early warning, pre-delinquency engagement, or post-resolution support and follow-up?
So first of all of the options, there is no right answer, to be honest. Everything is one of the cases that Agentic AI has a huge potential to help. If I had to answer conservatively, I'd probably say in the self-serving domain. Why? Because this is a proven, let's say, a proven pillar that Gen AI already provides a system. If you check, like 99% of the products out there are wrappers of LLMs, large language models, and they offer some self-serving like chatbots or customer support, etc. However, I like to think a bit ahead, to be a bit more, let's say, future-proof. And I think the biggest endeavor here is how we could resolve complex cases that require gathering information even asynchronously and be able to have some live monitoring and handle these communications, these cases more efficiently. So imagine about a complex case that you need to scan for past history, previous calls, some regulations, combine all these and provide a solution there that the human agent otherwise would take hours, if not days, to resolve. So resolution of these cases, for me, is one of the, let's say, the holy grail right now in collections. And for this to happen, I think that a lot of prerequisites need to be in place. But I'm also curious to see what our audience has voted.
And I guess that would cover pre-delinquency and in-flight collections, understanding more about that. And looking at, I guess, the poll, I think most people have completed it. Self-service and digital portals, 36%, and followed by outbound communication, email, SMS, WhatsApp, and other channels.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's the lowest hanging fruit right now. And if I were to begin the AI adoption journey right now will probably also follow this path. I think it makes the most sense. These are proven, battle-proven cases, so it makes much sense to rely on them. Okay. I should move on, I think, Hasib. So I'm moving on with the second pillar. So right now, I told you about how we learn from machine learning, but that, to be fair, is not yet agentic. It's not. We're not still talking about agentic AI. We're talking here about the cornerstone, the prerequisite. So once we're able to learn from signals and transform them into signals, once we know what is likely to happen through our machine learning models, then the next step is to orchestrate this. And this is where the EXUS AI decision engine comes the core of the platform. It will take all your predictive signals and turn them into personalized strategies. It can select the best channel, the best timing, the right tone, the right level of effort for each individual customer. And the difference from the raw machine learning predictions is that this engine operates in real time. So if somebody pays, raises a dispute, signals hardship, or shows a change in behavior, the system instantly replans the journey. Every action is obviously relevant at that moment, but we're trying to enforce governance by design with explainability, with policy-aware logic, and with consent checking. And most importantly, and I think this is one of the strategic objectives of any modern AI portfolio, is that we need to embed continuous learning. So every action you do, every strategy, every outcome should fit back into the system, not merely for auditability purposes, but also to help the system improve over time. Why? Because there is a hidden monster that we need to fight. It's called data drift, and data drift and concept drift are some risks that sooner or later will make your ML pipelines to deteriorate. So by having a decision engine that proactively takes this signal and improves itself is something that will help your predictions become more strategic and automation to become more impactful for your organization.
And I guess as much as we want to automate everything, as you kind of mentioned before, there are some exceptions, but this model is clever enough to understand where those exceptions are and put the accounts or records to the right place, prevent it going down the automated path if required.
Exactly. Yeah, this is why I think it's important to disambiguate wrappers or let's say add-ons from integrated products. So you could, for example, select another vendor to build a machine learning model for you, and then you should try to integrate it to your ecosystem. The problem here that I've seen is that we usually treat these as two isolated systems. So you have the machine learning layer, you have the decision layer, but the true innovation here is to try to connect these two things. And obviously, at EXUS, we do this natively because this is part of our EXUS Financial Suite or EFS. But if you do not select that path, it will be exponentially more expensive for your organization to be up to date as these models give more and more feedback. At some point, you will have a trouble. You need another system just to integrate the signals of your machine learning predictions to your core banking application, for example. And then as these systems evolve and they branch out and they, let's say, become more and more commoditized, every change in system one will break how you integrate it with system two and vice versa. So by having a clear integration between the machine learning layer and the decision layer is one of the unspoken, let's say, heroes of how you should treat AI in collections today. And this is something that organizations, due to the velocity that they need to operate, of course, and due to other needs, usually tend to neglect, and usually they tend to do a hacky solution afterwards to try to connect the dots, and that's fine. But I have to say that by having a better strategic integration between your learning layer and your decisioning layer is something that, at least in my mental model, makes sense, and it would help you in the long run to expedite any AI-driven decision. So moving on, so we are past now the decision layer. We have explained that the decision layer will determine the right action and the right offer. So once you have established that, let's assume that you have found some cases that can be self-resolved, self-served. So here you can have a system like the AI negotiator that we have here at EXUS to become your digital frontline. So the AI negotiator is a chatbot solution that targets the customer itself, the debtor, and it engages the customer through whichever channel they're most comfortable with. What makes it more powerful is the agentic design. So the AI negotiator can clarify questions, it can suggest viable payment plans, it can verify details, it can adapt to customer responses, it can guide your customer towards resolution, optimal resolution. But so does every free-form chatbot out there. You could even ask ChatGPT to do that. The difference here is that you need to build a chatbot that never acts outside of policy. Because where money is on the table, and we're talking about literal money here on the table, all guardrails, even if it's about the minimum installment plan, the maximum tenure, the hardship rules, the disclosures, everything should be defined by the financial institution, by you, and enforced deterministically. So you cannot, let's say, have any room for hallucinations, no surprises, no improvisation. And this is one of our biggest, let's say, bets that we're proud of accomplishing by AI Negotiator, that we can handle payment arrangements, clarifications, etc., adaptively, while following structured decision logic. So all negotiation rules, all thresholds, all disclosures are being configured by the business analyst, by the bank, by the financial institution, by the utility, and we provide deterministic reasoning without hallucinations and without free-form improvisation. So you get the best of both worlds. And as I said, always on means that you can resolve cases when the customer is ready. And here, omni-channel matters a lot. What do I mean by omni-channel? That you could have several versions, several flavors of the same agentic AI solution, the same AI negotiator via SMS, web application, instant messaging apps like WhatsApp or Line, web or voice, anything that the decision engine itself, the previous layer, routed to self-serving. So maybe the decision engine routed that you can self-serve a customer via a web application, another could be via SMS. If you have an agentic AI decision layer that can handle these cases with the same rigor and the same policy-aware logic, but with different channels, you can be sure that you can scale resolution without scaling your headcount. So you don't need more people. You can do it in a controlled standard way of tone, standard policy, standard compliance. Okay. So.
And I guess this is where you obviously mentioned it's forever evolving. So the AI agentic is also looking at the data in terms of where the customer responds better, what channel, what time, and it leverages that information and is continuously feeding back and improving that.
Exactly. By the way, I do not know, Hasib, if it's our time for the second poll now or is it for later. Feel free to ping me because I do not see the number of the slide in my view. So if you think it's time.
The poll will automatically appear. When it does, I'll just stop you and ask the question.
Thank you, Hasib. Okay, perfect. Moving on then. So if you remember so far, we went from learning to strategizing, then to engaging with the AI negotiator, and I left the last pillar, which is enhancing. As I said, not every case will ever resolve digitally. So this is where the human path and the AI coach can come in. So AI coach is a product that doesn't target the customer itself. It targets the financial institution. It targets the collection agent and their supervisors. It acts as a copilot for the human collection agent, supporting them pre-call, during the call, and after the call, and helps them make more consistent, more compliant decisions in every part of the journey. So let me show you how it works in all the three different parts of the journey. First, we'll start with pre-call, obviously. So agents, as you know, have a very small amount of time to jump through screens, read notes, interpret history, just before having a call with a customer. So the AI coach removes this friction. It summarizes the case for the collection agent. It highlights what matters. It will surface risk signals. It will recommend handling the specific customers and flag any policy constraints up front. So when the agent starts the conversation, they start the conversation informed. And that translates directly to better outcomes because you have lower handle time, fewer errors, smoother customer experience from the first seconds of the call. So you've done a preparation, let's say, before the call. What happens during the call? During the call, the AI coach will help you in real time. It will suggest compliant responses like the one that you see on the screen. It will structure your prompts and objection handling. It will do step-by-step guidance. So the collection agent will see a suggested script or a suggested guidance that they could apply at real time. How this happens? This happens because we have implemented very low latency speech-to-text AI models that hear the conversation, transcribe it in real time, and they are able to provide steering live for the collection agent. And what I like here is the consistency under pressure. What do I mean by that? I mean that, oops, I jumped. I mean that your best agents already know the right thing to do and to say instinctively. The thing is that the AI coach will help not just your best agents, but the whole team to behave more like your best agents without turning the call into a hard-coded script. So you have a guidance on the screen in real time. You still have the flexibility to deviate reasonably from that, but you always have a guardrail that proactively listens to the conversation and suggests in real time some sort of cheat code so that you can follow the journey without being left, let's say, alone in complex use cases. So for the non-high performing agents, this could boost their performance dramatically and have them behave more like your top performing collection agents. And what's more important is that the timeline that is being followed and shown, it helps you make the guardrails visible. So remember at the beginning of our talk that I said that you have a policy tree that you as the business expert can define. The LLM, the large language model that drives this power, is able to read parts of this policy tree in real time and understand what's allowed at the specific parts of the journey, what is required. And the guidance is not an AI opinion. It's flexible enough for the collection agent to follow, but also it's verified from the bank, from the financial institution, so that you can reduce variability and risk while offering something tangible for the collection agent to say in real time. And I know that you might say that, okay, this seems a bit too automated, maybe it seems a bit too robotic. Just to be clear, the agent stays always in control. The AI suggests, but the humans can decide. So the collection agent can, in any place, override the suggestion, the yellow suggestion that I saw earlier on the screen, and override this with another verified and curated operation. So you can improve your workflow over time, you can override the workflow, and you can get the benefit of speed of consistency without giving away your accountability. The human agent always stays accountable and in control of the journey. So this is our idea of having a practical, scalable, and human-in-the-loop model that I promised you in the mental model that I showed you at the beginning of our presentation. And last but not least, because this is all happening during the call, you have an instrumentation layer. As I said, we have live transcript, very low latency live transcript with diarization, meaning you can capture what was said, by whom was said, and when. So that matters, first of all, because it provides quality, searchable evidence, better QA, better coaching, but it's also a feedback loop that will help us post-call, after the call. And how will it help us?
So we just have a poll, Dimitris. Is it a good time for you to kind of run through the question? And again, maybe you can answer it. So this one is around top priority for AI, Gen AI and collections over next 12 to 18 months. So we have strengthening data foundations and governance, improving segmentation, treatment strategies, enhancing digital self-service customer journeys, supporting frontline teams with better insights, guidance, and then finally demonstrating ROI and building the internal business case.
So I will attempt to answer this wearing two hats. I will first wear my engineer hat, and I'll tell you that the biggest challenge that any engineering team will face with integration in these systems is usually the quality of data. Having a healthy data pipeline is paramount, and this is one of the biggest struggles that some engineering teams will face when trying to create something new, simply because even what I am discussing here right now, and this is one of our innovative pillars here at EXUS, requires a very different integration model when it comes to data transactions. So we're forgetting about batch transactions and batch services. We're talking about low latency, real-time integrations, and usually most companies are not ready. The AI readiness comes from one level before that, and the level before that is the data readiness. So one major pillar, one major blocker and challenge that needs to be solved usually, and we solve it natively here with EFS, is the quality of data. However, I have also to wear my business, let's say, hat, and I have to say that proving ROI is perhaps objectively speaking, one of the biggest issues right now, because you need to take a bet, you need to take a leap of faith, you need to create something so disruptive that convinces leadership of your financial institution that this bet is going to pay off at the short term. And if I had to select one answer, I would probably personally select the ROI, the last option that you mentioned. I'm also curious to see what our audience voted for.
Well, the most votes were enhancing digital self-service customer journeys, which seems to be a theme, but that was followed by the ROI.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. Okay, I'd like to finish the AI codes with the last pillar, which talks about what happens after the call. So imagine the journey. We prepared our collection agent before the call with Agentic AI, perfect. We helped them summarize the case. Then we guided them during the call with live scripting, with on policy guidance. We transcribed everything. And then what? Then we can take advantage and reap the benefits of all this system to shift, let's say, from shadowing and sampling some specific small percentage of calls to continuous improvement. So the AI coach will automatically evaluate the performance and the compliance of your call center, of your collection agents, using some predefined indicators. So imagine that you have a scoring system that you yourself can identify and modify, and then you can produce scoring based on each pillar of this scoring system. For example, did Agent X greet properly? Did they ensure that they verify the customer details before proceeding with the disclosure about the personal information of a loan or a credit card? Did they maintain the politeness and the compliance and the wording as it should during the whole call? So you get scoring in an objective manner, and more importantly, at scale. So at the end of the day, if you are the collection agent, you can get more personalized coaching automatically, not subjective, but objective, that becomes operational based on consistent feedback. And if you are not the collection agent, but you are the supervisor, you also have at supervisor level something that transitions from manually hunting for issues to aggregated views, to specific alerts, real-time alerts for exceptions that might happen, to incidents that might happen, structured reasons that can justify some performance dips. So for example, if tomorrow for a specific day or week, your call center performance has dropped, you should be able to identify why by tracking the performance of your whole team through the aggregated metrics that AI codes can provide. So we're not supervising here by signal, we're supervising by actual aggregated monitoring, not by signal intuitions, let's say. We have specific aggregated monitoring. And this is how you scale responsibly. And
So
I wanted, because, yes.
I guess it adds to this slide. Obviously, you're providing lessons, learnings at the end of the journey, and you mentioned during the journey you prompt the agent. So things like the tone of the agent, etc. Is that also kind of prompted during the call to advise them to maybe change that, etc.?
Exactly. So the idea here is that we don't have any specific scripting written in stone. You have a policy tree, but the policy tree is so diverse that it tries to handle and catch all exceptions that the financial institution, the supervisor, the business analyst would like us to capture. So the innovation here comes from being able to adjust right in time the tone, the scripting, the wording of the agent to guide them towards a compliant and let's say, optimal solution. So this is the difference, for example, from having a hard-coded script or a hard-coded agent, let's say.
So from what I take from this is that obviously you're leveraging the data to improve and optimize the customer journey, make it more personalized, but you're also supporting the agent, bringing pertinent information at the relevant time. You're coaching and guiding them through the prompts, but then also at the end, you're providing the lessons and learnings and trend analysis for the business to improve and evolve. So it's a evolving model, I guess.
Exactly. This is the point, because don't forget the feedback loop that goes behind to the ML predictions, to the decision layer, and to improving the whole system. And it's a good transition to say it's a good opportunity to say that everything you've seen is just the foundation, and for me, it just unlocks the next wave. So agentic AI needs to prove itself in collections, and in our case, it has already provided very measurable improvements in how we can handle these cases with empathy and scalability. But as we move on to the next wave, you could imagine that agentic AI could help in other ways. For example, it could help us define strategies, complex strategies in plain language, and this could be transformed into rules that could fit into your specific queue system or strategy system. It could validate your strategies against some regulatory policies or national policies before deployment. It would create a mapping that says that, okay, you have like 20 different strategies, but only 8 of them are compliant with the regulation that exists right now. It could help you generate analytics on demand. So what I'm trying to say is that the future here is not about having more standalone AI demos. You need to find the niche use cases that integrate AI with your specific needs, like the ones I described before, the AI coach, the AI negotiator, the AI decision engine, and aim for shorter cycles, faster strategy iterations, safer deployments, and continuous optimization of your whole journey. Otherwise, you're just having standalone flows. And remember how we started. We started up with, let's say, a motto that you need to go from analytics that advise into systems that execute. So if you cannot explain it, you cannot scale it. If you cannot audit it, you cannot defend it. And if you cannot control it, you cannot trust it. And this is the design standard we're following in EXUS. But if I had to tell a secret, let's say, is that having just a competitive machine learning model or a very well-trained LLM, it will not give you the competitive advantage. The competitive advantage won't come from having the best model. It will come from having an operating system with a feedback loop that executes strategy and learns from the outcomes. So that's exactly what I try to convey with the EXUS AI blueprint that I showed you, that you have the whole journey, machine learning that feed the decisioning layer, which is being executed by the agentic AI layer. And that's how you move beyond pilots and you build real momentum, real products that are measurable, scalable, and safe. And that's pretty much, I think, also the time for our last
Yeah,
question.
we have another final poll which kind of ties into nicely where we're at right now. So I guess the question is, by when do you actually expect Gen AI to be materially impacting your collection results, cure rates, costs, etc. And the options are it already is within the next 12 months, within the next 2 to 3 years, more than 3 years, or not on the roadmap yet.
Hmm. So speaking from this is actually a very good poll to understand, to get some ideas, because different institutions have different momentums, and more importantly, they are bound by the rules and the legislations of their specific regulatory bodies. So sometimes there is a will, but the momentum, the ecosystem is not built right yet. And through speaking to customers from different continents, I can understand the discrepancies. Right now, personally, I think that the countries with the most lenient and most progressive legislations have already pilots in place and can already start seeing momentum in the next 12 months. But I am afraid that for some specific ecosystems, it needs a shift, a legislation, a regulatory shift in order to enable and expedite this. So it really depends, I think, on where you're standing from.
I couldn't agree anymore. And I think the audience we've got within 12 months is sort of 50%. And some people argue it's already there. So pretty aligned with what you just said.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I have no more slides, Hasib. So I don't know if there is time for questions or we should take some questions from the audience. If there is time, I'm happy to take it.
I guess we've probably got time just for one, and then we can analyze and review the others and feedback appropriately. So I'll start with the latest question, which is, you mentioned that the solution works like a feedback loop. If an organization was to adopt your whole AI portfolio, what would it look like in reality? Could you give an example?
Mm-hmm. So that's actually one very good question. The idea is the following. We do not want to have, as I said at the beginning, EFS and the XUS blueprint as an isolated system. The system is as good as the data it's getting into. So by being able to create an ecosystem that handles your external data, so it could be bureau data, it could be some core banking data, irrelevant perhaps on a shallow level to collection, but actually very relevant on a deeper level. It would help us create integrations and journeys more hyper-personalized, because hyper-personalization is, I think, what is the main drive behind the agentic AI. So what it would look like in reality. Imagine that if you are, for example, a large bank with different branches and different products and portfolios, imagine that all your data could reside into the EFS database. And when you ask us to have some specific machine learning models, for example, a propensity to pay or a default prediction model or a promise to pay model, we do not just get the logs from our strategies and the signals from our strategies being applied, but we also get other data, like, for example, some internal scorecards that you might have in place, or some bureau data that are applying to this customer. We could enhance our learning layer, which has a compound effect. If you enhance your learning layer, it enhances your decision layer. So the AI decision engine becomes more clever enough to strategize more personalized journeys. So if I know, for example, that you have in your data that this customer specifically is facing a hardship, I'm not going to have a very stressful tone when I'm trying to self-resolve a case with them. I'm going to have a more empathetic tone. And at the end of the day, this will increase the collectability. So what information you put into the system, it returns as better ROI to you. So this is pretty much the case. The more data you feed into an integrated ecosystem, the higher the returns, the higher the ROI that you can get, because, as I said, AI is as clever as the data it's being fed to. So that's why I said at the beginning that the best selling point for any agentic AI solution, not just EXUS's, is to be seen as an ecosystem, as a whole, and not just as modular pieces. If you see it as modular pieces, sooner or later, you'll need to create hacky solutions to make it work.
It always brings a phrase to my mind: bad data in, bad data out.
Yes, garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
I think we've got another question, a very quick one. I think we can quickly wrap up. So someone's asked, one of the most important value of AI is human in loop. Where exactly does the human touch and review points in the solution? I know we talked about, we want to automate everything, but there are exceptions, and it's baked into the AI to identify where those are and pick those up and push them down the path for an agent, etc. I wonder if you can kind of give your insight into that.
Absolutely. So I will give you the exact place in all four pillars that I mentioned. While in learning, in the machine learning predictions themselves, the definition of the target variable, the objective of the machine learning model, should always happen with the expert in the loop, the human expert in the loop. the successful outcome, what you define successful outcome or a threshold for success is always to be defined by a human person, because they know the, let's say, specificities of the specific domain. They know the niches of the market, etc. When we're moving to the AI decision engine, everything that has to do with retraining, data triggering about data shifts or concept drifts, etc. Again, the human is always able to monitor, and never, and I mean never, will a model get retrained by itself without asking approval for the supervisor of that model, the business analyst, the expert who is monitoring the situation, and gives the final go, no go for the AI decision engine to improve itself. Why? Because, of course, the machine learning itself is not auditable, is not accountable for anything. The human in the loop who handles this pipeline, this AI decision engine, is accountable. So what we plan is to give these people observability and interpretability. The decision making is not stripped from them. On the contrary, it's being informed. And the two last layers, the agentic AI, which are obviously more automatable by definition. When we're talking about self-resolution, the policies that I mentioned before about the AI negotiator, so what are the minimum installment plans, what are the hardship declaration guidelines and policies, all that stuff should be defined by the human expert. You should think the AI negotiator chatbot merely as an executor. They execute what you give them to. They will not improvise. You can just tell them what to do and have the confidence that they would do it every time consistently. But they should never improvise in these very, very sensitive cases. And finally, as we established with the AI coach, which was the last pillar, there you have multiple ways to have human in the loop. Itself, AI coach is a human in the loop system, if you come to think of it, because as I showed you in the demo before, the human agent can either sit back and see the live scripting, but they have a manual override. You should think it as the copilot on your car. So when you have the autopilot on your car, it takes the wheel and it turns. It can brake and it can accelerate, but at any moment you can take the wheel, you can hit the brakes, and you can do whatever you should be able to do by overriding these decisions. So this is the design policy that we had in mind when we were designing these systems, that there is no way that for such sensitive cases there is going to be 100% trust from the beginning. So our best bet to make these more easy to adopt is to have always human in the loop overrides, and my, let's say, bet as an AI expert is to prove that these systems should need less and less and less override as they become better. But I do not want to strip this feature, this functionality from actual experts, because then we're not building something that adheres to our people, to the people that we serve. We're not here to do AI for the sake of AI. We're here to do AI to help people. And if they think this is important, we think it's important too.
I've got a couple more questions, but I could probably have this conversation with you all day. And I think we have run a couple of minutes over. I know we started a couple of minutes late just to let the audience in. So I think what we'll do is we'll take some of the questions that we've got and haven't answered and maybe feedback later. So I'd just like to kind of close this call and thank everyone for joining. Yeah, it's been a very insightful conversation. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. And thank you for your attendance today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.